In today's episode, we're going to talk about our podcast, the Evolve Marketing Podcast. We're going to talk about how things are going. We're going to talk about maybe how we're making money with it and also the things that are going to come in the future for it. There's also a bunch of things that we're learning as we go. For example, doing some stuff, doing other stuff, maybe some things that we made a mistake in the past, but now we're actually trying to fix it and get it and make it better. So today is gonna be all about Evolve Marketing Podcast. Brian, how's it going, brother?
I'm doing well today, Andrei. Thank you. How are you?
Good, good, good.
Good.
I
Yeah,
had
it's
a
going to be interesting today. I'm excited. What's before we get into it here, what's new?
so I told you earlier before the episode, but yeah, I had a soccer game last week. I had two games. We lost the final, man. We lost the final. We got destroyed.
It's hard to win a championship, isn't it?
Yeah. It was crazy because we were actually winning, but then I don't know what happened. Like it was just a bad day in the office for us, man. Like we've gone from winning to losing now. It's just like whatever. So my teammates are taking a season off. I'm gonna keep going and keep it consistent. But yeah, hopefully we come back next season stronger.
Yeah, well, you're gonna work in the off season, right? Play a little summer ball or whatever they call it in that sport, and you'll be ready to go, and you'll be running circles around them. You'll have to get them back up to speed as they get their conditioning back.
Well, exactly. That's the thing why I can't stop. If I stop for a season, I feel like it's gonna take me back a year. Like you don't understand how long it took me back to like start doing better again. Because like I said, I never played soccer like this. I've been playing for 2 years now, but before this, it was like 10 plus years which I was playing. And to get back into it, oh my God, it was so hard. It was so difficult in the beginning. So I cannot take a season off. Like I need to keep going and stay consistent with it.
And a lot of parallels to digital marketing, isn't it? It's like if you do take that week off or that month off, it sets you back, man. Especially as you get older. If you're talking about soccer, I think it's
Yep.
the physical activity, man. It takes you a while to get back up to speed. Well, sorry you lost the championship, but good to hear that you're going to keep going and get on a new team and play next season, and hopefully you find yourself on a good team and you can get back to your winning ways. But yeah, today we're going to talk about the podcast. And it's going to be interesting. I love these episodes because they're real, they're raw. We're going to tell you what we're thinking because we started this podcast about a year and a half ago and we knew nothing about it. And all we could go off of is what we thought, right? Based on watching what people do in the industry. And as we go through it, we assess what's going on. We self-audit the podcast and say, hey, this is probably working. This is probably not working. Maybe we should change this. And one of the things that we did is we have really, I don't want to say upgraded because we had a strategy we liked before, but we've really changed the way we're doing our thumbnails for the full episodes. Before it was very consistent, very title oriented, just trying to give people a look and feel that they could recognize. But especially for YouTube, we decided, hey, we got to add a little bit more clickbait in these thumbnails. And I think it's been working. I think our click-through rate on the episodes have gotten a lot better.
Exactly, yeah. And we did go through like a transition, right? At first, I remember it was just like our logo, a picture of me and you. No, no, not even a picture of me and you. It was literally just our logo with the episode number. And then after that, we started transitioning into, okay, let's put my face, let's put your face, and then we keep going, right? And then after that, it was the guest, right? So we added a guest image on the thumbnail. And we did that for a little while, but now, like you say, it was time to change again, because you see the stats, you see what's working, and then you see when it stops working, right? So then we have to keep adjusting and making those little changes because they are little changes, but can make a big difference in the future. You get me? So with these new thumbnails that we've been doing and a little more clickbait, maybe utilizing different colors, it's working. It seems to be working. We're still getting a lot of downloads, and that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. Let's talk about the stats, right? Since I have the stats right here on my laptop. So
Perfect.
all-time downloads, you get me, 27,000, almost 28,000 downloads for this podcast, and I think that's pretty good for just doing one episode a week. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard right? As we assess what's going on, because we're coming off of a couple of years of just massive views on Reels and TikTok and stuff like that. And so we kind of tend to forget what a good number of views are. And yeah, I mean, I've been, really happy with the performance of this podcast because when we're talking downloads, we're talking not YouTube, we're talking actual downloads from platforms like, Apple iTunes or whatever it's called, and
Yep.
and
Spotify.
Spotify and all that stuff, and Amazon Podcasts, I think, and I don't think Google Podcasts is a thing anymore. But yeah, 27,000 downloads. I think that's pretty good for a podcast, and I think that's because people are coming back. I don't think we've reached 27,000 individual people. But I think people are coming back to this, and that's really what our hope was when we started this, was to create a long form platform that would give people a home where they could be like, all right, cool. This week, it's another chance to really dig in, listen to some stories, sometimes meet some new guests, sometimes just hear what's on the mind of two marketers who've proven that they have what it takes to succeed in this game.
Exactly, and just how you said it, these are just the downloads from the platforms. You get me? We're not counting YouTube. In YouTube we're monetized. We have over 1,000 subscribers. We're getting a lot of views on YouTube as well, and that's our system that takes a like it logs like every download and everything. It doesn't read YouTube. You get me? So we always have this issue, right, with podcasts where we don't know where things are coming from, right? Like, yeah, the software will tell us kind of, but then there's so many downloads that are not recorded on it. You get me? So that's just I think that happens for every single podcast because it's hard to track where everything is coming from. And we are using a good software, Don't think it's the software, because the software is great. Like a bunch of podcasters use this software, the same one that we're using. So it's kind of hard to know exactly the metrics, but I mean, we have a YouTube channel, that's also being monetized. Plus, we're getting over 1,000 downloads every single month. Last 30 days, it's always over 1,000 downloads. So I think that's a pretty good record. Just
Yeah,
posting once a week.
we're doing great. I mean, I'm looking at the YouTube stats right now, and we've had 93.7 thousand views on YouTube, right? So, that's that, put those together, we're over 100,000 views on our content from this podcast that we started, and I think it's going really well. Now, one thing about those YouTube views is that we have been looking into the YouTube analytics because we want to try to see what's working, because part of our goal is to grow the YouTube channel, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a podcast, because we know a couple of things. First of all, YouTube is still YouTube. And second of all, we know YouTube ad revenue over time, and we're talking over time years, is very profitable. And we anticipate that it will continue to be so. So that will be a great monetization strategy for us long term as that grows, because we're making a little bit of money from YouTube ad revenue, but it's still in the early stages. But
Mm-hmm.
one thing we noticed when we were looking at the analytics is our shorts, where we take a clip from our podcast, we cut it vertically, or our editor does, so she's amazing, and posted a short, doing well. Our episodes, full episodes that are 50 minutes to an hour and 10 minutes, doing well as well, especially with the new thumbnail strategy and the increased click-through rate. But what we also noticed was that the clips, which are usually 3 to 5 minute videos that are segments taken from the episode, not doing so well.
Yep, that's what we noticed, right? Like those views are not as good, I guess you can say. It could be, the SEO that we're utilizing, right? It could be that, but at the same time, we want to maximize our views for the longer videos. You get
Mhm.
me? That we want people to watch the longer videos and not just those clips. And I feel like those clips are taking away from people watching the longer video. So that's what gonna be doing, right? Maybe this we're gonna start trying to not do those clips anymore, so people can just digest a full hour long podcast, and of course they can pause, they can come back to it or whatever later on, right? But as long as they keep coming back and finishing the podcast, I think that's gonna help the YouTube channel because our shorts are doing pretty well. That we're getting a lot of good views for our shorts. I believe we're still linking it to the full episode, right? On the shorts. I haven't
Hmm.
noticed lately, but those are getting us great views, you know. We just maybe need to keep being consistent with those shorts and have people maybe subscribe. You know, maybe we can add like a subscribe on inside the shorts. You get me? So little things like that can actually make a big difference.
Yeah, especially when you think about playing the long game and going over time. And that's exactly what we're thinking is these clips might be doing more harm than good. And once again, we're discovering that not by gut feeling. We're just looking at the data and then
Mhm.
trying to assess what does that mean. And what I think it means is it's kind of the opposite of the old Gary Vaynerchuk model where you just keep pumping content. And we're wondering, the consumer, the viewer, the audience, they're savvy, right? This is getting they're getting more and more savvy every single year as people get more and more comfortable with going online. And my initial thought was, okay, what if the only long form video, meaning anything that's not a short that is pushed out, is the full episode? I think that'll help our click through rate because it won't be the YouTube algorithm trying to serve longer video, 3 minutes plus to our audience every single day, because that's what we're doing is we're posting clips every single day. So the hope is that there will be recognition that when they see our audience or subscribers, they see a long form horizontal style video, they know in their head automatically, oh, this is a new episode. And like you said, something that I should digest. Plus, now that you say that, right? You talk about people maybe watching 20 minutes and then pausing it and then coming back to it. It almost makes me wonder if these clips are a distraction from the
Mhm.
full video, because that's what I would do. I might sit down at the end of the night before I go to bed, watch 20 minutes of a YouTube video and decide I'm tired, and I'll pick it up tomorrow or the next day. I might save it. But if I was served another clip that might distract me from my initial plan of watching the full episode. So I think we're trending in the right direction as far as making a decision to just go long or short, nothing in between.
Exactly. And let's to back up a little bit as well, you know. I believe we started those clips also to get us the watch hours we needed. So depending on the strategy that we had when we first wanted to do the clips, it worked because we got monetized fast. You get me? But now we have a different strategy. You get me? So if you're thinking about uh, quantity, I believe it works in order for you to be monetized and get those watch time hours, which was, I think it's like 4,000 watch time hours that you needed to get. So I think when we were doing the strategy, it was working perfectly fine because we're getting the quantity of videos and views and people watching it. But now that we already monetized, you know, it's gonna probably be better to take away those clips in order for people to digest, like I said, the full episode. So I guess, you know, the strategies always change, right? We always are evolving, especially here with this podcast, with our marketing, with everything. Like everything always is in a constant evolution.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point. I mean, you have to know what your goal is, because just like marketing in general, if you just go out there and just start throwing stuff out there without a specific goal, then you don't even know how to measure if you're getting results. And I think that's a great point, because you're right. When we first started this YouTube channel, we were not worried about the subscribers, because to get
Hmm.
monetized, you need 1,000 subscribers, but you also need 4,000 hours of watch time. And I think the subscriber rate was growing faster than the watch time rate at that time. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the subscribers was growing faster. And also at some point we actually got the 4,000 watch time hours before the subscribers.
Oh, did
You get
we?
me? We did. So
Okay.
in the beginning, the watch time hours was way higher. But then by the end, like, you know, the final race, right, to get to that point where we're monetized, we beat the 4,000 hours of watch time way before we did the 1,000 subscribers.
Okay. Cool. So it worked.
There you go.
Is the
See,
bottom line.
so that's the thing though. Like we had a short-term goal, right? Our
Hmm.
short-term goal was to get monetized, and we did it. You know, so it was like we did everything we can in our power to get to that point, and we got it. So now that we finished that short-term goal, you know, it's time to have another goal, right?
Right.
And then now this is why we're having this conversation right now.
Yeah. And our goal is to get people to digest the full hour of content on a regular basis. And obviously there's some strategy shifts. And then the other part of it is, of course, try to consistently create a good hour of content every single week. And if you put those two things together, that's where the potential for magic is. Because when we started this podcast, we just decided we were going to do what we wanted to do. I mean, for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
obviously we have the audience member in mind, but we thought to ourselves, if we just have a regular conversation every week about marketing and the evolution of our business, I think that'll be refreshing to some folks. And I think that will attract an audience that will appreciate it. So that's what we're doing. But on the other side of it, you need this data stuff, right? And I think that's what gets lost in a lot of newer folks is like, yeah, you can just tell your story in marketing and share your opinions, but you also need to think about the strategy and the funnels and all that stuff. So it's interesting to see the parallels that just exist in promoting yourself online.
Exactly. And then another thing, the we haven't done much lately is having guests on the podcast, right? And just keep in mind, guys, every single week we get at least 3 to 5 people that want to join our podcast. We get a lot of people interested in the podcast, that just to come be guests, you sometimes it's like VAs reaching out to us, introducing to the mentor or their boss, so they can come on the podcast. But it just comes to like it's just a lot of investigating, a bunch of these people, they're not even that big either. You get me? Like if there's a name that we recognize, yeah, of course, come on, right? But if no, it's just kind of, I feel like it would be too much work. You get me? Trying to investigate the information that they have. And it's just like everything's online. You get me? So it's so easy to look at their links and then check out what they do, right? But I don't think it fits our dynamic, I guess you can say.
Yeah, I think the last thing we want to do is just bring on a bunch of random guests, and every week the listener has to sit through. Here's the backstory. Here's the this. Here's the this, and here's what their opinion is, and that's can be valuable from time to time. But we want to vet our guests, and we want to bring on the people who we think are a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
I know we have a guest lined up for hopefully the next episode, but very soon, who's a real big player in the space and has been
Mm-hmm.
for a long time. So of course that's an automatic yes. And I'm not going to spill any secrets, but yeah, that's the type of person we want to bring on. Basically, I think the litmus test for us is, can we learn something? Me and you, Andre, can we learn something from this
Yep.
potential guest without having to dig too deep? And if the answer is yes, then of course we're going to bring them on.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, we have so many people that are interested in joining, but it just doesn't fall into our dynamic, I guess you can say, right? But yeah, we started this podcast to learn from other people too. You get me? It's just a little difficult right now because, like I said, the time, that information, it's just a lot of, I guess, more things to add to our plate. You get me? And not every guest is a good guest either. So we have to, and we don't know. It's there's so much uncertainty when we're trying to have some random guy come on the podcast because we literally don't know. We don't know if they're good speakers. We don't know if they can follow a conversation. We don't know. They probably don't even know us. You get me? A lot of them say, "Yeah, we listened to your episode, blah blah blah," and we don't even know if they actually listen to that episode. You get me? I think it's just all marketing at that point. So that's where it's a little difficult, I guess you can say, having just randoms on the
Yeah,
podcast.
you could definitely recognize the canned response, so to speak, where it's, oh, we think you're doing an amazing job and bringing a refreshing perspective to the marketing podcast space. We would love to be on our guest on your show. And it's like, yeah, okay. How many did you send that out to 100 people today or 200 people today? Right.
Exactly. I feel like we're getting the same templates like from agencies like every single week, you get me? Because I think that's what it is also. Those people, I think they pay big agencies in order for them to promote to different podcasts. And our podcast is on the radar. Like I said, we're getting people interested every single week in joining. But yeah, I don't know, Brian.
It is interesting. For anyone who does have a podcast out there, it's going to kind of lead into our next topic, I think. But yeah, it on the surface, it seems like it's a great idea to hire an agency to get you on a lot of podcasts, right? But the bottom line is I think a manual approach where you get on a few select podcasts that make sense for your business and your brand and the audience that you want to reach will have infinitely greater returns than just going on a bunch of random podcasts, because there's a bunch of crappy, inconsistent podcasts out there. And I'm not saying we're amazing, but there's, it's just not, sometimes it's not worth your time to just go
Mhm.
on a bunch of random podcasts. And we want to automate everything these days, but sometimes the manual effort is worth it, right? And that's kind of what we were talking about with our Instagram account. So you understand the dynamics of how Instagram is being populated right now better than I do. So maybe we dive into that and kind of just what we're thinking in order to give a perspective to the listener.
Yeah, so every time you use like a third party app, I guess you can say, or like a scheduler, you get me? You're probably gonna refrain from getting the views that you're supposed to get. And I think that's what's happening to our Instagram, because we're consistent. We post every single day, but we're losing the tactics, I guess you can say. We're not using the trending sounds. We're not putting a long description. We're not using a couple hashtags. So we kind of lost that essence of the way that at least me, I used to do my profiles, right, on Instagram. And then yeah, I feel like our views are getting compressed. That we're not getting the reach that we want, at least on Instagram. So because of the manual thing, right? We're having a scheduler. Somebody is posting those things for us, but it's not manual. And I think that's why it's affecting us, especially because we're not using the trends, right? We're not using the sounds or the hashtags, all of that. So I think if we do change that also, we're probably going to get more reach, at least on our Instagram, right? And the goal is for them to just go to our YouTube channel and watch the full episode.
Yeah,
So
because right now we're using some sort of software that cuts clips and then automatically posts them to Instagram, correct?
Yep, yep. And I utilized that on the past too, and I can tell right away that it's not the same, right? The views are not the same, the reach is not the same. Maybe the following rate is also not the same, right? We haven't really grown that much. We have over 1,000 followers, but it's just there, it's just stuck there.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's what's important is we looked at it and we really framed this in a view of, okay, we have a virtual assistant who's taking care of this for us. I think we paid her exactly what she wanted, if not more. So I think
Mm-hmm.
she's happy with the rate. But when we decided to remove some work, it's like, all right, what makes the most sense? And that's really what we're trying to do. Is we're not trying to get as much out of her as possible. That's not our goal. We want her to be happy and do a good job and feel like she's a good fit for the podcast still. But it's like, where can we get the most out of her? So if we take this away and then add this, maybe her job will be easier and we'll get better results. And I think that's how everyone should look at their marketing, because to go out there and say, all right, I'm going to do everything that works, it can get overwhelming. What you
Yeah.
got to do is you got to figure out the 20% that you can do to get 80% of the results, so to speak. And I think that's what we're trying to figure out right now with the growth of our podcast.
Exactly. And I'm super happy with her work. She's a hard worker. For you guys that don't know, she's been working for me for almost 3 years now, I believe. You get me? So she's been on my team, like me personally, for a long time. And then I brought her into our partnership with the podcast, right? And her work ethic is great. If we tell her something, she'll get it done. If we tell her the deadline, she'll get it done. So it's amazing, right? So just exactly what we say. We don't want to take money away from her, but we want to take away some workloads in order for her to be more successful, I guess you can say, right? And it's going to help us to in the long run. So those little tweaks here and there. For example, the software for the short form content, right? I pay for it, right? And then it makes her life so much easier if she just utilizes it. And she's been doing it, and she's doing great with it. So like I said, this has nothing to do with the way she does things. It's just we just need to evolve as well as we go.
That's 100% right, because what we know is this software is working great for YouTube, and
Oh
we're
yeah.
we're completely happy with the results we're getting from YouTube. But what we also decided is, oh, it's not working for Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to adjust and evolve, and that's exactly right. Now let's talk about Facebook, because we're both kind of in the same boat on Facebook, where we're kind
Mm-hmm.
of getting the same mediocre results from Facebook, mostly posting just reels on there. And I mean, how concerned are we? You know what I mean?
Honestly, we had a Facebook page. We're still posting consistent on the Facebook page, but I don't even log in anymore. You get me? Like I don't even know if people are commenting on it. You get me? And I'm pretty sure nothing's happening. It's just there, I guess you can say, right? Like the reach is not great. Like it's just not working. Same happened with TikTok. Remember when we had a TikTok at first, and
Mhm.
it just never took off either.
Right. And that's what's a little bit weird about social media is if I think about my great runs in digital marketing, I've really been posting online content since 2016, and some runs are great, where it's a 6 month period where it's just like you're just printing money, and then there's other months where it's like I'm still making good money, but I'm really working at this thing right now. And when I look back at the times where you know, I'm on those heaters, so to speak, where like I'm in the zone where it's just coming in. It's usually one or two platform dependent. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So it's like, should you post on every single platform? Yeah, I mean, maybe, especially when you don't know which one's going to work the best for you. But I think once you see an opportunity to really just put the pedal to the metal, so to speak, on one or two platforms, I think that's where you should focus your energy. And I think that's what we're thinking is let's go all in on Instagram and YouTube, and of course the podcast platform, which is a given, and see what happens. I think we're on the same page with that. Is that pretty accurate assessment?
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, those platforms are dead, I guess, we could start over again and maybe bring them back to life in a different with a different account, maybe. That could work also, but Instagram has always been a great platform, especially for like influencers or like, famous people or people that have a lot of reach, So I think Instagram is probably the one we should focus on, aside from YouTube. YouTube is always our main goal.
Mhm.
But yeah, Instagram, I think is gonna, if we're able to fix those issues, I'm pretty sure we're gonna start getting more reach out of it as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, we don't want to just sit here and wait. You know what I mean? Because yeah, it takes time. We know that, and it takes consistency over time. And we've been doing this for what? I think this is episode 82 now, so 82 weeks. So we're being patient, but you also
Mhm.
have to force the issue while you're being patient and test new things. And let's be honest here. At the end of the day, we want to serve first, but we want growth a very close second. That's why we're
Yep.
doing this thing.
But the good thing is that we always had a long-term mentality. You get me? It was never our goal to explode from the first episode. You get me? So it's like we're learning as we go. We're making changes. We're adapting. We're evolving, and we're doing everything right in order for us to keep doing this. Because that's important. And we have this mentality that we're not gonna stop. So it's great. It's great. We're a good team, Brian.
Yeah, no, we're doing well, and I'm happy with it. And like I think we said a couple episodes ago, it just gets easier every week, so that's the good thing. So we talked about a couple of different things, some wins, so to speak, that we're happy with, and then we talked about some things that we weren't so happy with. Kind of downer stuff. We're like, oh, this just isn't working. But when we're looking forward, you know, what's going the best right now in your mind? Like what's the best? What's the best thing that's happening with this podcast?
Well, the best thing that has happened for this podcast has definitely been um meeting with you every week, to be honest. You get me? Especially because I always looked up for your marketing. I always looked up for you. I seen you how you are as a dad and husband. So it's like I look up to you. So that was probably one of the best things that I got from this podcast. Aside from all the amazing guests that we had, aside from everything that I learned, because I learned so much, having a partner, especially as an entrepreneur, it's I think it's valuable, more valuable than people think, because you can go at it alone and you can be super successful and reach the skies. But I feel like if you are not like, so if you focus so much on being perfect, I think that can also hurt you. You get me? Especially if you're alone. But especially
Yeah.
having a partner now, I feel like it's much easier. And like I said, a couple of weeks ago, remember I couldn't make it to the podcast and it just felt weird after doing it for every single week for a long time. It felt weird to me. What about
Yeah,
you,
it is.
Brian? How has this? What's the best thing that has happened?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, is exactly what you said. I mean, I can just feel because we shoot these on Tuesday morning, every week. And so I can feel my week. It's like Monday's a struggle. It's like, oh gosh, I don't really have any motivation. I got to do my work, but I'm just not feeling ultra inspired. And it just feels like I'm forcing out, whether it's my content or my emails or whatever. And then I come in here on Tuesday morning and we get together pretty much first thing. I mean, I get my kids off to school and all that stuff that has to be done in the morning. But then it's pretty much, this is the first order of business on Tuesday is to shoot this podcast. And it kind of sets me up for the rest of the week, to be quite honest with you. It's like I come in here, sometimes we know what we're going to talk about. Sometimes we don't know what we're going to talk about, but we get here, we have a conversation. We shoot the shit, so to speak, about marketing. And then the rest of my week is great. I'm feeling excited. I'm excited about my coaching calls. I'm excited about my content. And there's something about it. It's hard when you're the only one who knows what you're doing. You know what I mean? Because, I don't have any friends who are digital marketers, so to speak.
Yeah.
I don't have any family members who are digital marketers. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you just work in silence. And when things are going great, it's fine. But sometimes when things are not going great, it's like you got to suffer in silence as well because nobody understands. And just simply having a conversation, it's not like we're airing our grievances or learning a new strategy. It's just getting the marketing juices flowing is great. That's the first thing. And then the second thing, Andre, is the thing that makes me the happiest about this podcast from just like a growth in tactic standpoint is when we started this, we realized that long form content was what was lacking. Meaning short form content was so hot. We started in 2022, kind of at the peak of the adoption of Reels and TikTok. And we were sitting with Travis at the, I think it was at the restaurant in Orlando at Funnel Hacking Live, where it just kind of clicked like, there's still a demand for long form content and nobody's creating it right now. I mean, obviously nobody is not accurate, but it's not getting the attention that it deserves.
Yeah.
And that's what clicked for me. And would you say we had 27,000 downloads?
Yep. Almost 28.
Yeah, that's validation right there that we did the right thing. Because if we got 28,000 downloads of an hour-long episode, that means that there's a lot of people who really appreciate the opportunity to sit in and maybe what we're doing for us, where we get to have the conversation and get our juices going. Maybe that's what we're doing for other people. It's like, I just need to sit and be in a no pressure, no bullshit marketing zone for an hour every day to help me propel my ambition or whatever it is, right?
Yeah. Well, that's exactly right. I mean, 28,000 downloads, you get me, for a long form type of platform content. It's great. It's not like short form where you get 100,000 that or 1,000, 100,000 views. You get me out of a short clip. This is completely different. These are hour-long episodes. You get me. So it's a good way that we're doing it. And just a conversation that we had with Travis, that's where everything clicked. Remember at the restaurant, he told me, yeah, there's no more long-form content being pushed or nothing aside from podcasts. That's what he said, right? And then we put it together, and then it clicked with YouTube as well. So it's like it made a lot of sense. There's also another agency, I guess. Have you heard of Think Media as well?
Yes, I have. Yep.
So they also talk about, just create long form content and then get the clips out there and put them everywhere. And like that, with one full hour episode a week, you can have content for the whole week. So you have to, of course, get the clips and do it. But just like that is how people are getting, super successful. And that's how people start, right? Everybody starts from 0 followers, 0 subscribers, 1 episode, you get me? And now we're like 80 episodes in, and it's just amazing. I honestly didn't think we are gonna reach 80. And then when we reach 100, when we reach 200, it's always gonna feel great that we kept it going. And it's gonna give us, a better life in the future as well. Like I can see this, being a great podcast in the future. Not that it's not right now, but it's gonna keep growing.
It's going to be great, but better, right? It's
Yep.
going to evolve. All right. One thing we teased at the beginning was monetization. So, I mean, if we're looking at the numbers, I mean, this podcast, I guess, is technically profitable now.
Yeah.
Which
Yep.
is not, it's not like we're rich, but it makes more money than we spend on it, I think.
Well, that's the yeah. It's been we had a couple of good episodes, where we are very targeted with our affiliate marketing because we're doing affiliate marketing inside the podcast as well. The best one I can tell you has been the Amazon reviewer episode. You get me? That Amazon reviewer episode has given us a pretty good amount for a podcast. I think so. And we just showed that episode. We put the link on the description. I did some Facebook marketing, but that was pretty much it. And the commissions were coming in every single month, and it was paying for our editor. It was paying for the software. Every little thing that we have for it, right? So I think that was our best episode. Which one's our second episode? That was good. I believe it was Funnel Freedom.
Hmm.
Funnel Freedom has also gotten us good results, recurring income. So it's also a great software for beginners to use if you don't like to utilize the tech. So if you're not tech savvy, it's a great platform to get going. So if you want to look at those episodes, these are two programs that we recommend. We don't just recommend anything, but those two programs have been really great, and it's helping people. People want to learn how to sell on Amazon, and people want to learn how to launch their business fast.
Yeah, and that's the thing too is anyone who's listening to this, should go check out those episodes, even if they have no interest in buying whatever's being promoted in there. Because what you're going to see how we're doing affiliate marketing through a podcast, which is crazy because we're not creating a piece of content and sending people to a funnel. We're bringing the creators on, hearing about their story. We're learning a lot about their journey and what it takes to launch, and which can then transition into other lessons that might help us in our business in the future. But at the end of it, it's simply a recommendation of, hey, if you want to go check out this thing that this person or these people built, here's the link. And of course, that's our affiliate link. And if they buy, they're going to get what they wanted, and we're going to get a commission.
Exactly. And I love that it works. It works interviewing the creators,
Mm-hmm.
and then just putting the affiliate link on the bottom, and then people connect with it.
Mm-hmm.
People are able to see basically their raw expectations. They're able to share whatever they want to share, right? This podcast is not scripted at all. In the beginning, I was so nervous that I had maybe 5 questions written down on my notepad, but now I have nothing. Look at my page. All I have is the time that we started, 9:05 a.m.
That's my notes for today. So as you can see there, we don't have a whole lot, but that's it. I mean, it's just a different mentality. It's an evolved understanding of how affiliate marketing works. I think it affiliate marketing is not trying to get people to buy your stuff. Affiliate marketing is building an audience, building trust, providing value, and then making a recommendation when the time is right. And it really does work. And I'm not in the dashboard of our affiliate programs that are connected to this podcast, like click and refresh to see if I made any commissions. I simply look at how much I owe you at the end of the month for all our expenses, and I'm like, oh, nothing, negative. So cool, we got some carryover, and that's how I know it's performing well. It's like, yeah, I don't even think about it. I haven't, sent emails or specials like, oh, you got to watch this before we take it down. It's just out there in the universe, and it's driving commissions. And like I said, it's not quit your job money, but it's growing, and it'll continue to
Exactly.
grow.
Exactly. And that's the affiliate marketing side of the podcast. We also have the YouTube, income that we're getting, which is still growing. I believe
Hmm.
our last episode is getting us like, a bunch of views, and those AdSense revenue just keep growing every single month. You get me? So eventually it's just gonna spike up, and then we're like, what the fuck did we do? It's just it's just gonna happen. And then once it clicks, and all of them is gonna be like a domino effect. And after that, we just gotta keep doing what we're doing. I don't think we should change anything.
Yeah, no, that's it. I mean, just make those tiny tweaks like we've talked about in today's episode to try to get the most out of what we're putting out. And that's all we're doing is we're not we were very conscious about this when we were talking about it pre-show. We don't want to create more work for us, right? We know there's things that we could do to force the issue that would take us a significant amount of our time and effort. But we're like, no, let's take what's easy and then just tweak it a little bit
Mm-hmm.
so we get the most out of it. And that's I mean that's business, that's marketing. You know what I mean? We don't need to hire a sales team or a VA to cold call people to get them to go on the podcast or listen to the episode or anything like that. We don't need to run ads to it. We don't need to do any of those things that are going to add stress and complexity. We just need to eliminate what's not working and do more of what is working, I think.
Exactly. And we're just doing it all as an organic side of it, right? Just we're just letting it happen. We're going this far by letting it happen. Maybe
Mm,
yeah, we could put more work into it and not be serious because we're super serious about it, but maybe add more things to our plate, right? We could also do that, but that was just never our focus. Our focus was never to make it a drag because
right.
right now it is not a drag at all. Like it's fucking fun, and we're just doing it, and it's great. I think it's working, man.
I think what we're really doing kind of indirectly is testing the concept that if you put a good product out there, everything else will take care of itself because that's exactly what we're doing. We're just trying to put the best product out there that we can. And I assume it's better now than it was 81 episodes ago. Yeah, we did not know what we were doing, and we didn't have the comfort level that we do now with it. So it was probably not nearly as good, but we just try to put out the best possible episode each week. And keep it varied, of course. That way it's interesting and we're bringing new topics to the plate and see what happens. See if really creating a good product is the key to success because we're not pushing it. We're not marketing the crap out of it. We know how to market the
Mhm.
crap out of things. We've both done it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not. We're just putting out a product and seeing who it resonates with and letting it happen organically.
And I read a comment from one of our listeners. I think he said something about I love listening to this podcast because it gives me the day-to-day type of information that is happening updated every single week. You get me? Because we're almost like a news outlet for
Mm-hmm.
affiliate marketing at some point, right? We just give that information, we see what's happening in the businesses, and then we come here and we share it. So it's almost like, an outlet for people to get that information that they're looking for. And, eventually we're gonna have our own TV show, Brian. We're gonna have our Monday morning affiliate marketing news.
Affiliate marketing TV.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, and I think that's important too because it's hard because there's no shortage of opinions and noise and information in the digital marketing space. But to just come on here and say, "Hey, you know, I'm going to go and see what's going on." I think is valuable. And I think I'm trying to put myself in the listener's shoes. I think it would help you keep your sanity a little bit too because when you are in this space, especially as a beginner or a newbie, or even someone who's been doing this for a while who's struggling at the current time, it can get really weird when you look for that touchstone on social media and all you see is people who are being way more successful than you. And it can get kind of depressing. It's like
Mhm.
really beat you down. But when you come in here and you listen to people who have been proven to produce repeatable success, and you hear about things like, yeah, our Instagram is dead, our Facebook is dead, then you realize, oh yeah, this is just part of the game. It happens to everybody. Now, when
Mhm.
I create a TikTok reel or a TikTok post for my main business, I'm not up here saying, oh yeah, boy, our podcast Facebook sucks because that no one wants to hear that. Obviously you're giving the good stuff out there, to try to attract attention. So I think it is kind of refreshing and can help people keep their sanity when it's like, oh, they're just like us. They go through all the same crap with growth.
Exactly, exactly. And it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen to everybody. Everybody that is successful is probably gonna get to the point where they might get stuck where they are. You get me? And that happens to everybody. It's just a way of you to it's just a way of life testing you. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's always gonna test you every single time, every single week, every single month, every single year. It's always gonna test you. Something new is gonna come up, and you just have to adjust and evolve. And if you don't want to change or you don't like change, then it's probably not gonna work. You have to adjust definitely.
Yeah, self-auditing your business and your strategy is the most important skill that you can have in entrepreneurship because you know, if you're consistent but you're not doing the right things or the things that are working right now, then you're never going to get results. You know what I mean? Like you could be consistent for a year and do the wrong things, and guess what? All you've wasted is time, and all you've gained is frustration. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So you have to be able to adjust and self audit and say, I'm consistent. I'm going to continue to be consistent, but this is clearly not working. So I got to shift it a little bit.
Yep, definitely, definitely. I think that's it, Brian, right? Anything else we want to add?
I think we pretty much covered it for today. We did exactly what we said we were going to do, and I don't think we should keep going because we finished this to completion. So, yeah, thanks for joining me again as always, Andre. Now I'm ready to go. Obviously, we have to upload an episode after this show closes
Yep.
down, but beyond that, I'm going to be motivated. I think I got to go finish creating a new webinar today, and I'm just excited to get to it now. So, thank you.
Nice. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you guys on the next episode of the Wolf Marketing Podcast.